All right. Welcome to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, and this is the point where I remind you, you got to subscribe. It's obnoxious to say it, but you got to say it because we need people to keep watching this, to keep it going. So do that. I hope you're enjoying all the cool interviews we've had. And today's something a little bit different. We've got a really a cool guest. I say that every interview, but this time I really mean it. And a good friend of mine as well. And we worked together on a movie. She's a singer. She's a songwriter. You're going to find out how we met and all about her career right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Time seems too good to be true. Nobody out there can waste time with you. Okay, so joining me today, Jane Jensen. What's up? She's hold on.
Am I there? Yeah.
All right.
Hey.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Jason. It's great to see you. It's been a while.
It's great to see you. You know, one of the good things about doing these interviews and being stuck at home is that you can catch up with people that you haven't seen in a while.
I know. I think that we've sent some messages back and forth. It's always been just checking in, very brief updates, but this is going to be a whole nother kind of thing.
Well, I've been putting messages in a bottle and then throwing them into the river for you, and smoke signals.
I haven't gotten a single one.
I had a feeling, and I invested in these messenger pigeons, but it's not working. But anyway, all those things that I've been saving up, tonight we're gonna talk about.
Fantastic.
And you know, I was saying earlier, right before we went on, that it's been you know, somewhere around 25 years since we've last seen each other. We were 7 years old. Which is why we look so good. You do at least.
I think you look fantastic.
Well, I'm 73 years old, so thank you. if you shoot really high, you know, someone might go, "You look good for 73." I see you're getting comfortable.
Well, you know, I think we're going to be here for a little bit, so I don't really need the shoes. Although I kind of wanted to.
Cool
there
shoes.
they are. I don't need to.
Jane, I got to be honest with you. This is the first interview where I'm actually wearing pants during the interview because I'm so scared of cancel culture that and having an innocent young woman like yourself, I said I'm going to put pants on today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But should you change your mind and you need to, you know, disrobe your lower half, I'll understand.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you've always been an understanding person. So
that sounded really creepy.
If you think that's creepy, we're just getting started, right?
I know. What I love about you, Jason, is you love to talk and you're pretty funny. So I'm thinking there's not going to be too much for me to do, which would be great.
I was thinking the same thing going into this because, you know, I was like, I think, you know, because I'm not an expert on your career. I'm trying to be, but I was like, Jane will just do all the talking.
Oh, great.
But,
okay.
But pretty funny is a good compliment. A million years ago, I dated a girl and she said, "Do you really think you're funny?" And it hurt, you know, because I realized maybe
she didn't think you were funny.
She didn't think I was funny.
But you did some stand-up, or do you just kind of have that vibe about you when you're doing your stuff with Sin City?
I did stand up just to raise money for charity for kids with cystic fibrosis. I did it twice. That was the hardest thing I ever did.
Wow.
To be up on a stage by yourself and tell jokes but I think it's just from being insane and from my years with Troma. And you know what, Jane? That is a segue right there. That's what we in the business. That's what we in the business call a segue. So I'm going to tell you how Jane and I first met, you know, 300 years ago. And that is in 1994, I went to work for a company called Troma, which is the world's oldest independent film studio. And when I was a kid, before I was wasting time as a musician and wasting time doing interviews, I wanted to waste my time as an actor. And I went to act for Troma. And I was a very small part in the movie Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. And that is how I met Lloyd Kaufman, you know, the legendary Lloyd Kaufman. And by the way, I'm only going to tell these stories now, Jane, and you're going to do the bulk of it. I'm just getting into it. You're going to carry this, but.
Oh God. Okay. I'm really nervous, but okay.
I don't think, see, I'm not sure you even know some of these stories. And
I remember you in the Sergeant Kabuki Man costume.
Yes. Well, that happened.
You wore it well. You're very thin, so you have the right frame for it. I've seen some heavier Kabuki Men, and anyway, I think the suit was made for you, Jason.
Well, thank you. And it's funny you say that, because that's a segue also. The reason why I ended up playing Sergeant Kabuki Man is that the suit fit. We were shooting an infomercial. It was called the Troma commercial.
It's almost like we rehearsed this and we didn't.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like that. And the audience watching might think that. But so we shot this infomercial. Troma made an infomercial for Comedy Central. And the idea was, if you bought Troma products, you will better your life. And I got Dee Dee Ramone to be in it, which was totally ridiculous.
I don't remember that. Yeah. How did I not know that?
Probably 94, yeah. And so...
Okay, so that was before my time.
A little before, yeah. And so I was the... What are we drinking there, Jane?
Water.
Oh. I like to put it in a cool... You put it in a cool glass, though. You should have lied and said that it was something fancy.
Pabst malt liquor.
Maybe. But anyway, so speaking of Pabst malt liquor, so I worked on this thing, and the guy who played Kabuki Man didn't show up, and they said, "Can you fit in this costume?" I put it on. They asked me to do the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They asked me to go to the Cannes Film Festival. And as you know, at Troma, you can do anything. And so then they decided they wanted me to write a draft of a movie that they had been working on called Tromeo and Juliet. And
oh, that's right. Yep, that's coming back to me.
Yeah, it's starting to happen. Yeah, and so there was 2 or 3 writers before me, and it was a very different script. Kabuki Man and the Toxic Avenger were in it a lot, and it was very strange. And Lloyd wanted to do this other direction, and they kept telling me that this was going to be the first serious Troma movie,
which it was.
Yes. Well, I'm going to jump ahead. I remember when the movie was being edited, they were like, "We better get some fart noises in here." You know, what started serious was like, cue the fart sounds. But anyway, we'll get there. That's another segue for another discussion. But so I tried it. I was really young. I mean, honestly, I was probably right out of high school, and I didn't really know how to write a screenplay. And I was writing other things for Troma, though, like shorts and wraparounds, but I didn't know. Lloyd wanted what he wanted. And I think he wanted someone just to write his ideas at the time, and we didn't have the same ideas. And then he wanted it written in the iambic pentameter. I think that's how you say it. Is that how you say it?
Iambic, but yes. And did you lean on your Shakespearean skills for that?
I watched the Zeffirelli version of Romeo and Juliet under Lloyd's recommendation, and the only thing I took away from it was that Olivia Hussey was really hot.
She was beautiful.
You watch it carefully; she's topless. And, but underage, and you know, and that's what I took away from that. So I didn't like writing the movie. I didn't get it, and I don't think I was good for it. And they told me maybe we should bring somebody else in to do another draft, and you'll go to the Cannes Film Festival again with us. You know, which sounded way more exciting. So we looked at writing samples, and there was this one that I thought was terrible. And it was filled with vomiting and all kinds of strange things. It was very beat artist, whatever. And that was James Gunn. And
did he offer up a reel before he was hired?
He sent in some examples of his writing. Yeah. And you know, he was like a performer. James was kind of a performance artist. And so he sent in his really offbeat writing, probably some of the writing that got him in trouble.
So was it anything that was filmed, or was it just the writing?
No, it was just like his fiction. Like I said, it might have been.
Cool. All right, that's great. I didn't realize. I thought when you first said that he had sent in a short film that he had done.
Oh no, it's not a film. It was just writing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
And so you know, because he was controversial years later, and this writing was kind of, by today's standards, would be considered controversial. For those of you who don't know who James Gunn is, I don't know how that's possible, but he began writing, you know, Scooby-Doo and Dawn of the Dead and his own movie Slither, and now he's been the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise and Suicide Squad 2. And anyway, I went on to write adult movies, and he went on to write Hollywood blockbusters. I'm not bitter, but I didn't get it. But Lloyd Kaufman, he is a genius in the sense of seeing talent. He believed in James. We went to Lloyd's house. We had a meeting, and I went in the kitchen with Lloyd's kids and baked cookies, and James talked with Lloyd, and I knew I was done. And what James did, which I thought was really smart, was James just took that script and wrote his own movie, and he didn't care what Lloyd or anyone else thought. He just wrote his own movie, write your own damn movie, as Lloyd would say. And Lloyd was like, yeah, okay. And anyway, and so I have a credit for additional material. I do laugh, though, if you go on any of these websites, it'll say written by James Gunn, Jason Green, Lloyd Kaufman, and William Shakespeare. So I'm honored.
You are in good company, no doubt.
Yes, I'm in good.
You are good company, Jason.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, and speaking of good company, so we shot a lot of stuff for Troma, and before you got cast as Juliet in Tromeo and Juliet, you did some of these wraparound things with me where I don't remember them that well, but I know you were there. I think we did this movie parade. Did you do that?
We did the parade through Times Square, the film parade. That was so exciting and so much fun. But was that before we shot or after? I think that was after.
Okay, that might have been after. But you and I did some.
We did a lot of bumper spots and a lot of Tromaville things and just all kinds of crazy things at the Troma offices.
And we would go to Troma Team Video, if you remember. Like it was
we
another.
We would go to Troma Team Video. Yes, I remember auditioning for that, for Tromeo and Juliet. And I really wanted the role, and I wrote and I've told this story, but I have to tell it again because I haven't told it in so long, but I wrote a monologue called Everything I Ever Needed to Learn, I Learned in Tromaville. And then Lloyd wrote a book later by the same name. So I feel if we're taking credit, I take a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah,
I don't remember the monologue. It escapes me. It's been a long time, but it was I rented many Troma films and wrote a monologue based on stuff. And
still wanted to be in the movie.
I know, right? Yeah.
I remember thinking what they would call the actresses in those little wraparounds were called Tromettes.
Right.
And I remember you weren't the typical what they hired to do that part.
Yeah, definitely not built like a Tromette. I was not as curvaceous.
But you were perfect for Juliet, though.
What?
But you were perfect for Juliet.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I was glad. I was certainly happy to do it. I really was just out of school and I wanted to work so badly. And I'd done a couple independent films before this one that were not in this genre by any means. They were, dramas or comedies. But man, I just wanted to work. And so I was down. I was like, let's go make this movie this summer. And it was so much fun, as you know.
Yeah. This really was a guerrilla style filmmaking. I remember, you and I going down one time to Chinatown, and it was like, jump out of the car and we're going to steal these shots.
Yeah.
And then we're going to run.
Manchu.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And these little tattoo shops, a lot of it was filmed on St. Mark's Place, and then a lot of the
I remember that day. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's funny, like I think all the pictures that I have are pictures that you took and gave me. So thank you, Jason.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But yeah, there were some pictures from that day that got lost, and I was really, really happy they got lost.
like which ones?
They were photos from inside some shop on St. Mark's Place there.
So what didn't you like about it?
I don't remember exactly, but I remember they were the photos that were going to be shown in the scene where Mercutio is finding a photo album that gives him and Tromeo a clue that all is not right in the Capulet home.
Mm,
That's what I remember about that.
yeah.
Anyway.
You're selling DVDs right now as you speak. You know what's an interesting thing about this movie? They hired someone to do locations who had never done locations. And so if the script called for a crack den in Alphabet City, they would go get a crack den in Alphabet City, not realizing you could film that in a studio. And do you remember some of these apartment buildings where the rats would be walking around?
I remember there was the scene that would never made it to film. It was the death scene. I think I did a very bad job. But I think that place might have been sketchy. And then certainly the place where we went to have the scene with Fu Manchu in Chinatown, I think that was pretty sketchy.
Yes, that
And I
was.
remember trying to match shots in places that weren't the same location, which was always funny.
I think the rat house, you might not have had to go because that was Tromeo's father's house. So maybe
Oh
you
yeah,
didn't.
no,
I remember
I
we
wasn't
filmed there
that
on the 4th
familiar.
of July. Yeah, 4th of July, and people are blowing things up. We were filming next to squatter houses, and what's funny, Jane, is that because I wrote a draft of the movie and because I was friendly with Lloyd, they just kind of threw me a job. Like, and I really all I did is hang out, and I was the only person getting paid of those people of the production staff, and so I would pretty much sit in the back of a truck all day with a radio, and I would just turn it off because I didn't really want to hear anybody. And I remember we were in Brooklyn, and they shot a scene in the movie where you are pregnant. It's a dream sequence, and
Oh
you're
yeah. Mhm.
and you were miserable. I remember you came out
I
to the
was so
truck.
miserable.
You were crying. Tell us
Yeah.
what you had to do.
Okay. Well, it's funny. I remember when I got the role, I had a conversation with James on the phone, and he said, "Does anything freak you out? Do rats freak you out?" I said, "No." And he said, "Do maggots freak you out?" And I said, "No." "Do bugs freak you out?" No, nothing freaks me out. So, and I actually believed that. And then when we got to this particular scene, which was, I think we were halfway into the movie. Man, it's weird seeing my clothes.
Better do than
Um,
me.
we were halfway into the movie and we were doing this scene and it was all very entertaining. And then they did the popcorn scene with the popcorn coming out of the stomach and mealy worms, I think they're called, which I thought were maggots. Maybe those are the same things. I don't know. But I just kind of left my body and went into shock. It really, really freaked me out. The next thing I remember, I was in the bathroom on the floor with the wardrobe lady and the makeup lady, and actually it was the makeup lady, hair and makeup, and she was picking these little maggoty bugs off my body, and then I just thought that I might need to stop the production, and then I thought about it a little more, and I was pretty sure I was such a wreck that if I left that day, I wouldn't come back. And so I stayed, and it was my truly my traumatic experience. I would just wake up for about a week after, like, crying in the middle of the night, just having that memory of those bugs.
Well, I remember you being outside in Park Slope in Brooklyn, and we were talking, and I remember people telling me, try to talk her back into it because you were pretty shaken up. And
Yeah,
I
I
think,
was.
I think they knew that we were friendly, and also, for me, it was, I was go do this, go do that, so I remember talking about it, and it was. I mean, if you've seen the movie, she's got this fake pregnant stomach and these mealworms, and then there's popcorn, and there's rats coming
Oh,
in.
the rats. Yeah, the rat. Maybe it was the rats. I really don't know because I don't even remember the rats.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that happened because it's there on screen, but I don't remember that at all. All I
Blacking out.
even remember are the worms. Oh God.
Yeah, sorry, I've ruined your night.
No. It's certainly far enough in the past.
Have you watched
But
that
yes,
movie?
you were a very kind soul, and you were very consoling. And yeah, I always appreciated our chats on the set, Jason.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You started complimenting me, and then all of a sudden your screen froze. Isn't that funny how that happens?
Oh.
It's back. But now, Jane, do you remember the first time you saw the movie Tromeo and Juliet? Let's test your memory.
Oh gosh. Okay.
It's a trick question.
What? It's a trick question?
Kind of.
Okay. Was it in Cannes?
No, and I'll tell you. The first time you actually ever saw the movie is I got a VHS copy of the movie. I guess they considered me important enough to have some kind of say, and I got the editor's copy, and I brought it over to your apartment, and you made some food. I think it's vegan. It was vegan food, right? You're vegan, right?
Vegetarian.
Vegetarian. Yeah. And so you made spaghetti or something.
I had that little TV player, or the little TV VCR. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No. And I think you lived in the 20s or something like that, right?
Yeah, 28th Street. Yep.
Yeah, like so right in Chelsea.
26?
Like in Chelsea or something.
Yeah.
It explains.
Well, no, I was on the other side.
Oh, you were east side.
Yeah.
Yeah. This explains why you weren't writing back to my letters, because I just kept sending them to 28th Street and it was 26th Street. Yeah. And now I also understand why the people in the building were so confused that I waited outside. But that's neither here nor there. Let's. So anyway, but you and I watched this movie, and we fast forwarded the love scenes because we were classy at the time.
It's very uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable. Yeah, and I don't remember what your thoughts were, but I mean I think there was a little shock.
Yeah, there was a little shock. I was relieved because I remember that now, and there was a cut that came after that cut that was a bit more of a family version of Troma of Tromeo.
Oh, so we watched porn, you and I.
What?
We watched the porn version, you and I.
We did, yeah, we did. So I was relieved that the cut that was released was a little bit pared down compared to the one that you and I watched, the first one that I ever saw.
I think we saw an editor's copy before anyone even, made notes and changes, and so we probably saw, as rough as cut. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I think the version that I showed you did not even have sound effects. You know what I mean? I think we really watched. I think it's before they added all the fart
music.
jokes.
I love the music. There are still some songs in that that are dropped in that stick in my head, like the Gizzards song. That's that was a guitar.
That was your guitar?
Heavy.
That's your guitar?
No, that was not my guitar.
Okay, prop.
That was a prop guitar. Yep.
See, that picture just threw us off, but
oh my gosh, I know
I can picture that location though. That's Brooklyn also.
I can too, and the bed looks so pretty, but I remember it was cardboard, and so if you moved, the whole bed started kind of like shaking. But that was probably the scene where the ghosts come was probably one of my favorite scenes to do. When Valentine and Patrick and Sean Gunn all come in and start dancing around the bed. I just thought that was so hilarious and so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of fun stuff. You were talking about the music, and at the time, I knew a guy named Ron Jeremy, speaking of cancel culture.
Oh, I just saw Ron Jeremy on television or on YouTube recently. I wasn't I wasn't catching up on his old flicks. I was he was in the music video, the Wiggle Wiggle video. My daughter wanted me to do a dance party with her, and I spotted him in that video.
Yeah, well, there's nothing more fitting for a child's birthday party or dance party than having Ron Jeremy dancing, right?
God, right.
Parenting sounds like it's a blast. It's better than you showing him where he is now. So,
Exactly.
but anyway, he recommended Lemmy for Motorhead, and
Right.
me and a guy named David Schultz in California, we got Lemmy to be involved in that movie. Hey, look how cool that is.
That's me and Lemmy, and you took this photo. And do you remember his name?
That's Jason Leaf. Yes.
Jason.
Yeah, he was a PA. He might have got fired. I don't know.
The other Jason.
One of my favorite PA stories I'll tell super fast. I was doing these things with Lloyd where I'd interview him afterwards. And so I would tell stories that he'd never heard. One day they sent a PA to like a hardware store, and he hated working in the movie so much he just took the money and left. Never came back. You know, the money was probably $20. It would just Troma movies, the making of them is probably more entertaining than the movies. But so anyway, I got Lemmy. Me and David Schultz got Lemmy to be in the movie. He hated James Gunn's writing. He couldn't stand it. And we went to Times Square, and he said, "This is awful." And he said, "I'm going to cross it out." And he had rules to being on the set of the movie. He only would talk
some
to me.
of them.
Yeah. Well, he had to have a Tromette to talk to. And
two. I think he had to have two Tromettes to talk to, not just one.
And he preferred them to be people of color. You know,
I remember that too.
Yeah. And then he needed a full bottle of Jack Daniels. And so I sat and would talk with him during the day, and they had the idea to bring him out to Times Square in the middle of the summer, and everyone knew who he was, and they're honking their horns. And he pretty much rewrote the intro, and I think James was very disappointed too. But he didn't really like Lloyd either. He kept calling him the little man. But later they hit it off, and he's been in every movie that they made since. That night, Motorhead was playing at the Roseland Ballroom, and they were having an after party for the record Sacrifice. Sacrifice is in the movie. Yeah. And you and I and a few other people went to that party, which is where that picture was taken. And I'm going to try to show you some pictures from my email.
Now, I was trying to find my photos with Tommy, and I know I have them because I can see them in my mind's eye, but I couldn't find them. But I've got so many photos here.
Well, this is my email here, and because I don't know how to do anything right, so I'm just going to take you into my email. There's me, you, and Will Keenan, who played Tromeo. And
Will just played some of my music on his radio show last week.
I saw that. That's cool. You know, you and I were talking briefly. I wanted to have you and Will do some of these horror conventions and these retro things, and you and I were very close to getting it done, and then the world closed. Now,
did. There it is. Oh,
there's you and Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath. You're wearing your Class of Nukem High T-shirt.
Look at that T-shirt.
That's a collector's item. You don't have it, I guess.
Tony Iommi. Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Here are you guys sharing a moment.
Aw.
Yeah.
He looks so cute.
Yeah, and then here is you and I when we were young, 7 years old. I don't know why I tucked my shirt in, but look at this great outfit that you have.
Oh yeah,
shoes too. You can barely see them, but this was taken in the production office, and yeah. And anyway, so there's that. So we shared some pictures. Hopefully, people watching this wanted to hear some Tromeo and Juliet information. It is a cult. It is a cult movie. Do you have any regrets of that movie?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think that at the point at which my kids watch it, they're never going to leave me be about it. They're going to. I don't know if they'll tease me.
How old are your kids? Is that impolite to ask?
16 and 13.
Oh my! How do you have a 16 and 13-year-old?
I don't know. I just do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do.
But so they haven't seen the movie yet, though.
No.
Yeah, that's good. I saw the movie recently at a screening with Lloyd, and
Oh, really?
yeah. When's the last time you saw it?
Over 15 years ago.
Okay, yeah. Some people who were in the theater were really excited and loved it. For me, it didn't age very well. But hey, what do I know? You know. And I remember Lloyd was in town, and we were going to do another Q&A, and I said, I think I'm going to skip Tromeo and Juliet. And
was that on the West Coast or East Coast, or where was
here
it?
in Las Vegas, yeah. So when Lloyd comes to Las Vegas, we've done some.
Oh gosh, that's right. You're in Vegas.
Yeah, no more. I've been out here for 20 years. Where are you now, Jane?
Los Angeles, West Coast.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Some reason I pictured you in some small farm town.
No, I'm in some small beach town called Malibu.
Wow, that sounds better.
It's pretty small. I mean, this is a really small town vibe here, out here.
Now, so anyway, most people are really just tuning into our conversation because we haven't talked in so long. This is our catch up, and hopefully they liked seeing us reminisce. But what I really want to talk about is your music career. And you know, what's funny, Jane, is when we were making the movie, I wasn't so aware of your music because there was no Google back then, you know, and you didn't know, and you weren't the type of person who was bragging, you know, I did this, I did that. And so it wasn't until later that I started to know about your music career. So I want to go back a little bit. I know you grew up in Indiana, but you were in Chicago when you really started working on music. Is that right?
I was in a band in high school before that.
What was that like?
That was fantastic. I felt like I was living a John Hughes movie when I got into that band. My high school experience went from being somewhat drab to just like magic. So yeah, being in a band in high school was super cool. And I was simply a backup singer, but still it was really, really cool.
What was the name of that band?
The name of that band was Exquisite Fashion. Nice. Which is the translation of, I believe, Depeche Mode, or I guess that's what I've heard. But I think Depeche Mode means fast fashion, easy fashion. But that was the inspiration for that name. So yeah, that was super, super fun. And I'm still really, really close with those guys. They were brothers that had the band. And they have their own recording studio in Indianapolis now. So I still go and work with those guys quite a bit. They're actually a Grammy-nominated production team right now. Nice. And I work with them whenever I get a chance, whenever I'm back in Indy. And they actually contributed one track on my newest release.
Well, we're going to get to that. We're saving that for a big.
Okay.
Deal. Yeah.
Okay.
But so let's. So you sing backups in the band in Indiana. Tell me what happens next with your music ambitions.
So I moved out to Minneapolis for a year, and gosh, it's really going way back. And I did some singing in some little groups out there, and from there I went to Chicago. And there was
Did you just pick up and go to these places? Like, how do you? What was the thought process in your travel?
Well, I went to school in Minneapolis. That's why I was there. And actually, I didn't go straight to Chicago after that. I went to New York for a brief stint, and checked out what New York had to offer. I wasn't quite ready for that. I moved back home, and I felt like, well, Chicago feels really urban, and that felt right, but it wasn't as big as New York. And so I felt that Chicago was a good place for me. I went out there and started going to Columbia College and started working on music, my own music. I had one of these programmable keyboards. It was an Ensoniq EPS. And so I started learning how to program drums and program music, and had a little electronic band called Ladyvox, which was me and my keyboard and my friend Erica, who would dance. And then along the way, I met Jim Marcus and Van Christie from the band Die Warsaw, which is a really cool industrial electronic music, industrial rock band. And I was really into that scene. I loved Ministry and I loved Nine Inch Nails, and was really stoked to move into a bit of that world in Chicago. I just thought it was amazing and I wanted to be a part of it. And I started working with Jimmy and Vandy on music, and we collaborated on a really flowery, romantic, electronic, kind of down-tempo recording called Oxygen 23. Had some cool, interesting stuff on it. And that was first released through Martin Atkins' label called Invisible. And then it got picked up by Fiction Records in the UK. And wow, it bounced around a lot. And then the same record was released by Fifth Column Records, Jared from Chem Labs label. I think that's how it went. Invisible, Fiction, and then Fifth Column. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, also, so at this time, you have what happened? Did we lose something?
Somebody just walked in. Who goes there?
Are they welcome, or is it an intruder?
It's my daughter. Hey, kiddo.
Oh, okay.
What is it?
I feel like
go. I will talk to you later.
I feel like we're intruding on a personal moment.
Sorry. I
No.
think it's no, Maria.
She's telling you that she's moving away to make music in another city, right?
She wants to buy something online and she wants to do it right now, and I just sorry. Okay.
So afterwards, yeah.
Right. So let's see. We did Oxygen 23, super cool stuff. We did something that was really fun, which was we'd go to the Hare Krishna temple and eat their fantastic vegetarian food. And that led to, doing a track that had the Hare Krishna mantra in it.
I saw a video.
Doing this video. What's that?
The video on YouTube of this. I saw it.
There is, yeah. And, all my friends were there dancing, and we were doing this really lovely little dance track. So that was part of the Oxygen 23 vibe. And at some point, I just felt like New York was really calling me. My sister lived out there. Now,
hold on, Jane. Before we get to New York, tell me about your neighbor, Alex Ross, who is a very famous comic artist. He's definitely gone on to have a massive career in the comic industry. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about what that knowing him was like, and then the stuff that you did with him.
Okay. So, Alex lived next door to me in the dorm, the Columbia College dorms. And Alex and Chris Purcell. Oh, gosh. So they lived next door to me, and they were both artists. And Alex, the first time I saw Alex, he was wearing a monk's costume, like a brother, the brown one with the hood, and then it would have the rope around the midsection. And I think he was really committed to living a monk-style life, just focusing on his art and going to school. And I know at that time he was going to school all day, and then he would work, I believe, as a janitor, cleaning the school in the evening. So he had long days, and then he would come home and draw. And I loved hanging out with him. We would listen to music. And a couple Halloweens, we would all dress up together and do whatever Halloween happenings happened to be happening. And I remember being Catwoman one year, and Alex was the Hulk, and he was so stoked to be the Hulk. And I remember him carrying me around with a torn shirt, and Chris Purcell was Two-Face. Gosh, that was so much fun. And so Alex and I were just really good friends, and we would eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at night and drink Kool-Aid. That was kind of like, or was it grape juice? I don't know, but he liked, his snack was a PBJ and grape juice.
And did he practice sketching you and things like that?
I don't, that for some reason, I don't remember that. I remember he painted my Scottish family crest on the back of a jacket for me once. And I don't even think I remember him photographing me back then, but we remained very good friends. So then later, as he started getting jobs, he would ask me if I wanted to pose. So that was after we got out of the dorms that I would pose for Alex for photographs, and it was really informal. He would just come over to wherever I was living and say, stand like this and look like this. And he was really like, he knew what he wanted to capture in his mind. And so he would just kind of put me into position.
When I said that to you, it was creepy, when he said
oh man, I mean, I guess I have these some of his comics right over in one of these cabinets.
Well, you told me you have props back there.
I know, but I didn't pull those out. I didn't think Alex was going to come up. That's awesome.
See, I'm always studying, stalking, whatever. So, Jane Jensen, this is your life. But anyway, so some of those photos and stuff could have went on to inspire various comic book characters.
Oh, right. So I would say that, yeah, it was through my relationship with Alex that I became really interested in comic books. He was like, I remember he was like, oh, Jane, you've got to read The Killing Joke. That was like I had to read The Killing Joke. And he had all of these early Catwoman comics, which I really became obsessed with Catwoman. The Watchmen, all the classics, yeah. He was just, I just absolutely had to read them, and he wasn't going to leave me alone until I did. And so he really indoctrinated me into the world of comics and that colorful combination of those frames and the stories. And it's not that I remembered reading Archies and things like that when I was a kid, but this was just this whole different level and experience. So I definitely got that from Alex. And then I don't know if it was Alex that introduced me to Sandman comic series, or if I found that on my own in the comic book shops, because then I started going to the comic book shops on the regular. I think where I lived in Chicago at that time, the comic book shop that was nearest me got its new deliveries on Tuesday. So I was always there with Jim Marcus waiting for these, to see what was new issues that were delivered. And then, so then I got obsessed with Sandman comic book series. And then I discovered Tank Girl, and
oh yeah,
I wanted to be her. It was, yeah. So there was never a sexual element about the Comic Book Core title for the album. It was really about truly being obsessed with comics. And
there it is, right there.
And also, there was the element of using words that are typically used against people in a way that is almost more celebratory than punitive. But yeah. So I have had a huge collection of comics over the years. I've gotten rid of many, or I've sold many, but I still have some.
Yeah. So, okay, so now we're segueing. You came to New York City. We know that you were studying dance when you were in New York, right?
Right.
And we know about Tromeo and Juliet because we discussed it at length.
Mm-hmm.
And now, somehow, Jane, it was kind of funny because I knew you and we talked, from time to time. But like most movies, it's like summer camp. When it ends, we all kind of go our own
Go
ways.
separate ways. I know.
I think these days, though, if you hit it off, you now could text people. It's a little different. You can shoot a thing and stay in touch. And I
You're
think
right. Yeah, that would make it maybe a bit of a different experience.
at least also for like-minded people, like we had fun talking about things. I'm sure we would have texted, and then there's other people that, it was a fun thing. And then there's people that you just never want to see again anyway. But so I didn't know so much about, like I said, this music career. I did go see you perform live when this record came out. And that's when I started to realize Jane has this whole side of her that I really didn't know. And that's this electronic music, industrial music. And, some of it sounds like Beck. And you really had a fresh take on things where I knew rock and roll. I grew up on punk rock and roll. I listened to your music on this album, Jane, and I think, how did she write that? Like, is she improvising this? Is this, because it is so in its own kind of world. So you tell me a little bit about what it takes to create the kind of music that you were making.
Oh, well, I think that couple things. Like I said, when I first started, other than, having a guitar when I was a kid, I got into programmable keyboards pretty, early on. And then drum machines. So I think my first drum machine was the Roland R8, and liking electronic music and dance music, I liked the sound of electronic loops and electronic drum loops. So a lot of times it would start with a drum loop. And once I got to New York, it wasn't too long before I found Craig Kafton, who was the producer that I collaborated with to make Comical Core. And I brought him some of my demos, and we sat down and listened, and we just started recording music. And during that process, while I was making this record with Craig in his loft on Canal Street, is when I got cast as Juliet. And so I remember they used some of the tracks on what finally came out as Comical Core. They used at least one or two of the songs. But anyway, as far as how that comes together, it often back then would start with a drum loop and then building from that.
Yeah, I mean, and people can listen to this record. I say to everybody who's out there, one of the good things about being home is we have time. Music is everywhere. You can steal this record. You can go. There's a million places you can go listen to it, and Jane will not see any of that money. But you could be turned on to some really good music, and so it's out there. It's available, and I think people get an idea, and they'll recognize some of the songs, Jane, because a lot of the songs, a couple of your songs, were featured in movies and TV shows, and you could tell us a little bit about some of those. The song "Love Song" in particular is kind of around.
It is, yeah. So Love Song was used in an episode of The Good Wife, where Kalinda takes a baseball bat and bashes somebody's car windows in. And that was really exciting for me because they give me a shout out at the top of the scene, which was really cool. More Than I Can, that was used in the Tromeo and Juliet, and I think it was also used on something for MTV, and it was on 120 minutes. You know, there have been a lot of fun little placements here and there. I think a comment that we get with More Than I Can from a lot of Metallica fans is that there's a really similar kind of vibe in the top of the song with The God That Failed. So people ask about that a lot, but it was actually played. It's not a sample. I don't know if you ever caught that, Jason.
I'm not sure I did, but because I just listened to them again recently, and there was a couple of things that I was wondering about, and so maybe that was one of them. But yeah, in my book, you were ahead of your time because it took me a couple of times to get it. Now I listen to it and I go, wow, Jane was doing this before a lot of people were trying to go for this vibe, and I think it's really an enjoyable record. And so this record, you got to deal with Flip Records to start, which was a kind of famous label at the time, and the record came out, and then Interscope, right, steps in, and that's turns into a pretty major release for you.
Yeah, it was certainly the biggest thing that I had ever done, and it was extremely exciting. It was a thrill. It was, if I could have chosen any label in the world that I would want to be on, it would have been Interscope. So it was an incredible ride, and
still going. And now I'm going to move a little faster because the kids got stuff to buy, and you have some big exciting plans tonight. I'm not sure what you're up to, but
yeah,
you gave me a hard out.
What did I? Wow, time really flies, Jason. It's been almost an hour.
I know. Well, that's what happens when friends
We didn't even get to talk about rock and roll that much.
Well, I'm going faster now. This is your follow-up album. This one's called Burner.
Burner. This one I did with Craig and Martin Bisi in Brooklyn, and just really cool. Yeah, and then that's the thing about making records with people is you get so bonded. You really become, you know, I always feel like the people I make records with are my siblings. And you do kind of go your separate ways, you know, once the record is done, but there's that really deep familiarity, the same kind of thing that you get hanging around hour after hour after hour on a movie set. You just have this kind of bonding. So I have that with really everybody that I've made a record with, and certainly Martin and Craig, and they're still such good friends. But that was Burner, and that one I put out on my own. So that was an independent release. I started my own label, AutoZen, with that release.
And that came out in 2003. We're jumping around. Obviously, there was a lot of other things that happened in your life. 2007, My Rockabye, right?
Right.
Yeah. You forgot that one.
So that was, you know, I was suddenly having a whole different kind of life experience with getting married, becoming a mom. And so I kind of made a record that reflected a bit of this really sharp left turn. And that's really what My Rockabye was about. What's that? What do you have there, Jason?
These are notes.
Oh, okay.
What did you think? I was going to embarrass you with something?
I thought it might be some note that I wrote, like, you know, 100 years ago.
Dear Jason, of all the people I've worked with, I hope I never see you again. No, now we're going to get to the whole reason you're here. You're not here to reconnect with me. You're not here to take a trip down memory lane. You're certainly not here to remember Tromeo and Juliet. You're here to talk about your upcoming record, which, well, first of all, let's say the record's called Enchanted.
Enchant.
Right? Enchant. I knew I'd screw it up. I was like, I hope it's not some weird pronunciation. Enchant. Okay, so that's your new record. Now, listen, this record is described. I had to write it down.
Okay.
It's brain massage and a break from reality. And,
sweet. Yeah.
And I need that.
Good.
I need that. My brain needs a massage, preferably with a happy ending for my brain. And then the the break from reality. I've been trying to get that my whole life. So this sounds like it's the record for me. This is also considered. I got to read it. I can't remember. I can tell you everything I said at Troma. When I was at Troma, they had a guy who couldn't act, and they made me wear the Toxic Avenger mask, and they filmed it this high. And I had to say, I used to be a 98-pound mop boy nerd until I turned into a hideously deformed creature of superhuman size and strength. Right? I still remember that.
Oh my gosh, it's locked up in there, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. But I can't remember this, and I should. The record is alternative meditation.
Alternative meditation music, right? So there is a lot of meditation music out there. I wanted to do something that I would also find kind of intellectually stimulating, and something that was really rich for the ears. And I've developed a meditation practice, and I'm kind of had a little bit of a chanting practice ever since my experience with the Hare Krishnas back in Chicago. And this album explores a lot of different approaches to meditation and chanting. There's a track that has kind of a Buddhist element to it. There's a track that has more of a Christian element to it. There's a track that has more of a Hindu element. So it's it's no specific sort of it's not based on one religion, or it's not based on any particular practice. It's just a way to open your mind, begin a practice that can help you shut out a lot of the stress and anxiety and all of these things that I feel like we're experiencing as a whole due to the pandemic. A lot of agitation, a lot of overstimulation due to so much internet and so much information constantly coming in. So this is my offering to help someone kind of sidestep a lot of the stressors of day-to-day life. And even if you don't want to start a meditation practice, a lot of times simply listening carefully and getting out of your own head and attending to something that is outside of your head can just relieve stress. And that's one reason why people love movies so much, because they really get to escape and get out of their own dramas and their own problems. So that's some of the idea behind what this album is about.
And it as you're saying, it's a really good escape. So if people want to listen to this music, it's not the kind of thing it's not like listening to a rock album necessarily. You can have it on and relax. And I think you make the point. Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing you can do for your brain. Sometimes you have to stop the stimulation, put down your cell phone, turn off the TV. You can put your music on and concentrate. Meditation is not as difficult. I know it's sounding hippy dippy and it's sounding this and that, but it's not. And there's a lot of things that can help people that they don't realize how easy it is to do. And so this is really a good way to clear your mind. And I'm hoping that some people will try that. Jane, tell me real quick though, you were in an accident before this record. What happened? What happened?
I was in a skiing accident.
See, that Jane right there, that would never happen to me. If you didn't, Sonny Bono taught us anything.
Right.
He taught us that I got you, babe, and don't ski.
Don't ski. I know. And I didn't want to go. And it was the last run of the day. I don't even like skiing. It was a really great lesson for me to not do stuff you don't want to do. You know? I got hit really, really bad from behind, and I got a concussion, and I tore a bunch of stuff. And this is February, March. So now it's been 2 full years. And I'm much better than I was, but I still have pain. It's not, it's not bad. But I am starting to get, I'm hiking again, doing yoga again. But so that's basically what the accident was. And I really honed into this kind of practice because I couldn't do things that I normally like to do, go running, go hiking, to work out stress and anxiety. So I started developing this practice. I started working on this music. All of these things were really helpful. And I wanted to make something, like you said, it starts to sound hippy dippy, right? But that's why I like to call it an alternative music practice, because I think it is a kind of, or an alternative meditation practice, because I think it's a kind of meditation that can appeal to people who have some alternative interests and tastes and might not be seeking out a wellness practice for themselves, even though they may really need it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the gateway drug to opening your mind in meditation, and if anything, turning off your mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's more of what you're trying to accomplish, and I think
You
that
sound like someone who does some meditation, Jason.
I don't want to give away all my secrets, but no, I do. I use this app. It's called the Smiling Mind. It was recommended to me, and it's very easy. And it's not a sponsor or anything, but you can you do these little exercises. You stop, you think about nothing, and you do some meditation. And in these times, more than ever, you have to slow down this overactive mind. Our brains are so much more fragile.
Right.
People realize.
I agree. And I think there's so much benefit, whether it's becoming more intuitive or less reactive. I think just spending some time in meditation can have all sorts of ongoing benefits. So I hope people get it. I hope they
you
get
have to tell us where to get it now, Jane.
Okay, so you can go to iTunes and get it. Actually, if you go to my Instagram, the links are in my bio, and that will take you to iTunes or Amazon or Spotify or however you choose to listen to music. It will be there and available to you and everyone else. So I really hope that people embrace it, and that for those that wouldn't find themselves interested in meditation, that it might actually lead to a healthy practice like that.
And so is it available right now, Jane, or it's pre-order?
There have been some glitches in the rollout. So it was available, then it was pulled back. I believe that it is available in Spotify. Actually, I guess I can look it up.
Yeah.
But the links are there in the bio. So you can pre-order it. At the very least, you can pre-order it right now. How's that? I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah. Enchanted. People can take a look for it. Jane, I want you to come back. We had to get all this out of the way. We had 25 years to catch up on. We had to tell some of the Tromeo and Juliet stories, because I think people are interested in that genre and that cult thing. And we shared a time in in life, and so we had to get that out of the way, and then we had to catch up. But I'd like to talk more about some of the things you do. I've seen some of your live videos, and I think it's really interesting. And I think so. Maybe we get together again, and we'll talk about.
Hold on.
Uh-oh. That your alarm?
I lost you. No, that was someone calling in, and I don't know why it went to my computer. I can't see you though now. Let me see if I can do. I agree, and I feel like I never properly thanked you for taking me to go see Motorhead and Black Sabbath and introducing me to Tony Iommi. So I'm working on something for you. The idea just hit me before we sat down, and I want to do a version of Fairies Wear Boots, acoustic, for you, Jason.
I like it. Yeah, very cool. Can you actually hear me, Jane?
I can hear you. I just can't see you or me. I lost the screen. I'm not quite sure why. I'm going to press.
Whenever people get phone calls, that kind of thing happens. But it's technology. That's the technology, though.
That is okay.
But I'm totally into hearing the acoustic Fairies Wear Boots, and again, I'm so glad that we were able to catch up. I hope people watching this took something from it, whether laughing at some of our ridiculous stories. And believe me, we barely scratched the surface. You know, Jane, when we're off the air again, well, I'll tell you all the really funny stuff, you know, that I can't share, because there was so much stuff with that movie and the time, and just, believe it or not,
it was a magical summer, to be sure.
Yes, and so I'm hoping that everyone listens to the record. And again, like I said, I want you to come back and we'll talk about deeper things than just rats and worms and lemons. So Jane, thank you so much. Everyone's going to go to Jane on Instagram, Jane Jensen Music, I believe. And you can, because there's all kinds of other less important Jane
Or
Jensen.
Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/J3.
You're like Johnny Lawrence now on Cobra Kai. You go to HTTPS.
Right.
Okay,
Instagram. That's easy.
Okay.
Jane
So
Jensen.
for all you kids who are looking to get into some cool music, listen to the old records and also give your mind a little break and listen to this. So Jane, we'll do it again. It's not going to be 20.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. Thanks so much, Jason.
Thank you.